Hello. In ToolKit 6.4, we've added the ability to merge and overlay data log files. I've got ToolKit open here. I'll start by showing you how to merge data log files. I'll go to my Tools ribbon and I'll select the Open Data Log File ribbon menu item. Now, from here, I can select multiple data log files and they'll be merged by ToolKit when I open them. I'm going to go ahead and select a couple of these. Open it. ToolKit will open both the files, merge them together, and then present us with all the parameter names that are available to plot. So as you can see here, both the data log files I selected are now shown in this source file. We also have something new here called data log sources, and so for each set of files or each overlaid file, which we'll get to later, you're going to have a source. So if you're just merging data log files, they'll show up in this list under this data log source. So let me go ahead and select a parameter. And we've got data. Okay. Now, that's the way to merge data log files if you're opening them straight from the ToolKit ribbon. You're also able to merge straight from the data log ribbon. So we've got the merge ribbon menu item, so I can select that and I can select another file. And it will open that file for me and automatically, as you can see down here, add on the data for that new file. I'll zoom out so we can see that. So now I merged another file from there. If I go into my properties, you'll see now that file shows up in our source files list. Okay. Now from the source files list, I can do a few things. I can take one of the source files. The first thing I can do is I could retarget it to a different file. So say I brought in the wrong file and I wanted a different file. Rather than deleting it and re-adding it, I can retarget it. So let me retarget this to a different file. So now ToolKit removed that file and added the new file in. Okay. I can also from here, I can delete one of these files from the list. So let me go ahead and delete that one. I'll go back out. You can see the data's missing that we deleted out. I'll go back into the properties. Another thing that we can do from here is if the data log file supports it, some data logs have information in them. And if it does, there'll be this little information icon over here, and you can select this and it'll actually bring up the information about that data log file. So gap-based data logs carry this information within them, and this will allow you to view that information and see when the file was created and whatever information's been provided from gap. We also have the ability from here to select multiple files and then select this retarget all of the files. And where you might use this is if you've spent a lot of time configuring your data log with plots and all sorts of things like that, you may want to look at a different set of data but keep the same configuration and not lose it. So that would allow you to then retarget, select a different set of files, and keep all the properties that you've set up for these merged files and not lose those properties. So hopefully that will be handy for you as well. ToolKit 6.4 also supports the ability to overlay data logs. I have a data log open in a data log viewer. On the ribbon, you'll notice that there's an overlay button. So I'll select the overlay, and I'll be prompted to select another data log file. So I'm going to go ahead and select a couple to merge them together. You can overlay merge data log files as well. So ToolKit will open these new data log files and it will put it in what's called a data log source. So you can see here the data log sources, and the one that we just brought in by default got the name merged files, and the one that was already there, because it was a single data log file by default, the source got named to the data log file. So if I select that one, you'll see the properties for that source, including the plots, show up down here. But if I go back to my merged files that I just brought in, it'll show the files that are part of that merged file, as well as now I can go ahead and select the parameters that I want to display for this particular source. I'll change the color so I have some contrast. Now, up here, I'm able to, with the sources, I'm able to rename them to make it easier to tell what is what. So I'll come over here to the rename, press rename, and let's just call it my merged files. And now in my list, you'll see that the old one, the initial one had the data log file name, and this is the name that I gave it. So you're able to give your data log sources more meaningful names for yourself. So let's go ahead and now look at it, and you'll see the new merged data log came in and it overlaid it over the old one. Okay, now I'm able up here to select which data log source I want to manipulate as far as moving it. So we've got these shift buttons, and we have a shift right button coarse, a shift right button fine. There's a shift left button coarse and a shift left button fine. So I have my merged files selected, and so if I start to shift this left coarse, you'll see that it actually moves. I zoom out now, and this way you're able to use the shifting to get the overlays in the place where you want to actually view them over each other. Alright, so if I go back into my properties now, you'll see this time shift property. Right, this allows you, rather than using the shift buttons, this allows you to put it in a specific time shift, whether it's in the negative or positive. And this allows you the ability to have it move in a larger range or more precise range if you don't want to use the shift buttons. So if I go back into the properties again, you'll see in here we're able to overlay data logs from within here as well. So let me go ahead and select a different data log to overlay. So now I have another source, as you can see, and since I selected a single data log, it just gave the source the name of that data log. And I can go ahead and select a parameter, give it a different color. And now I have that one overlaid as well. So you can overlay as many files as you want. They can be merged together. They can be single files. If I go back into the properties, I'm now able to select an overlay, and I can, or a source, excuse me, and I'm able to delete that source out of the list. And now I just have those two files. I'm also able to, just like always, I'm able to save the data log options and reopen it at a later time for overlaid files. So I'll select this file I already have, and I can close this data log viewer and then reopen that data log options file. and it'll bring it back open with all of the data logs and the properties that I set up for this overlay. So I'm able to get right back into what I was working on and not lose any work and have to redo it. If you would like more information on merging and overlaying data log files, see the Data Log Viewer help topic in the ToolKit help.